Senator Leahy, let me start with you. Given the rancor, the animosity, what seems to be the hangover in Washington over health care reform, is that timetable realistic? Can this really get done by the summer?
Oh, of course. It'd be the same time schedule that the Republicans had for John Roberts as Chief Justice, the Democrats had for Sonia Sotomayor. It works very well. You know, the irony is, Matt, when a Republican president nominated John Paul Stevens, heavily Democratic Senate, we confirmed him in about 2.5 weeks. So actually we're spending a lot more time now. I'm the only member of the Judiciary Committee who voted for Justice Stevens, who was there, but it can be done. It's the same schedule as the Roberts and Sotomayor hearings.
Senator Hatch, let me ask you, there's another dynamic at play here. Not only do we have what's left over from health care reform, but we've got a midterm election. So how are those races at home going to affect the way members of Congress vote on this particular issue, this Senate Supreme Court confirmation?
Well, I don't know, but I can say if the president picks somebody who is clearly qualified, I think there's no question we can get that person through in a relatively short period of time. For instance, so far in the Obama administration, we have been confirming President Obama's nominees to the various courts 40% faster than President Bush's nominees were confirmed. So, you know, I don't see any problem if the person is highly qualified. On the other hand, if he picks somebody strictly if he picks an activist judge, I don't care whether the activist judge is liberal or conservative, we ought to do everything in our power to defeat that person, because they should not sit on the court if they are acting in their own self-interest in accordance with their own predilections, rather than having the law control them. The law should control the judge, it's not the other way around.
Let me throw out some names here, and Pete just mentioned in his piece, and I guess, Senator Leahy, I'll go with you real quickly. Elena Kagan, Diane Wood, Merrick Garland, Janet Napolitano. From your perspective, anybody jump out as a front runner there, someone you'd most like to see nominated to the Supreme Court?
Well, I've discussed some of the possible names with the president, and I'll keep those suggestions for him. Obviously, all those 4 people are well qualified. It's going to ultimately be his choice. I would disagree one thing with Senator Hatch. In 17 months during the President Bush's first term with Democrats in control, we confirmed 100 of President Bush's nominees. In the 17 months with the Republicans doing filibusters, of course, we confirmed far less of President Obama's. But I'm going to assume that everybody's going to be responsible, and we can move forward with this nominee, and we should. You know, we have a very activist, very conservative activist Supreme Court that's ruled that women can be paid less than men. Have given a $2 billion windfall to Exxon, and have now said that corporations can be involved in elections. So the Supreme Court really does count, and we should get down as soon as possible, get to work on confirming somebody.
Senator Hatch, let me throw those names. You just heard the names. I'm not going to mention them again. Anybody jump out on that list, and does anyone send up a red flag, in your opinion?
Well, let me just say this. I'm not going to prejudge anybody now. Supreme Court confirmation proceedings have to be thorough, and it's going to take some time to look at each one of these people if they're nominated. I even heard the name Hillary Clinton today, you know, and that would be an interesting person in the mix. But look, I have to say that I think this business of filibustering is way overcharged. Senator Leahy and even the president, you know, Senator Leahy filibustered or voted for a filibuster 25 times on various nominees. So
that's
now,
okay.
Now he knows that I do not believe that we should be filibustering judges. We ought to have a vote up or down.
Let's at least agree on that. But Senator Hatch, just because
the president himself voted against cloture on a number of occasions. So, you know, they're hardly in a position to say the Republicans can't filibuster.
Obviously, the facts are the facts, and when the Republicans were in charge, they pocket filibustered 61 of President Clinton's nominees.
On,
but that's in the past.
Instead of going back and forth on that,
let us get a Supreme Court nominee. That's what the American people want us to do.
Instead of going back and forth on that, guys, let me just say this. Senator Hatch, you just, by the way, mentioned Secretary Clinton. In your opinion, would she be qualified?
Well, I'm not going to judge anybody right now. I happen to like Hillary Clinton. I think she's done a good job for the Democrat Secretary of State's position. And I have a high respect for her and think a great deal of her, but I'm not going to prejudge that.
Well,
I think we'd have to look at it. We'd have to look at it very carefully, and we'd have to be very fair about it.
I think she's done a good job for the country, not just for Democrats. She's done it for the whole country.
Too.
All right, guys.
I think so, too.
I want to thank you both for your time. We've got an interesting couple of months coming up. Senator Leahy, Senator Hatch, once again, thanks.